Hey everyone, this is Michelangelo Valtancoli and you're watching the TurnedVC show. TurnedVC is all about going places, having fun, and interviewing some great guests with diverse backgrounds that turned startup investors. Today we are in sunny London and we are interviewing Michelangelo from TurnedVC, who's also the podcast host at Chaotica. Let's ring the bell. Hey man, welcome in. How's it going?
Good to see you, man.
Good to see you.
Welcome in.
So, Michelangelo, welcome to the TurnedVC show.
Thank you very much. I'm very excited to be here.
Awesome having you. Man, breaking into VC straight out of uni is like, landing a role in a blockbuster movie without prior experience. So I know that you interviewed Stride's founding partner, Fred Destin, on your previous podcast before joining the firm. Can you share a bit about that experience and how it, ultimately led to your current role at Stride? And what's your... Actually, that's also a good one to ask. Like, what's your one piece of advice for people wanting to, break into the VC industry?
Yeah. So I met Fred on a podcast. So basically, Fred wanted to do a research about UK student founders, and he wanted to really understand the UK student entrepreneurship ecosystem. And so he started with some help from the team and Georgina, started sort of mapping that and spoke to a few individuals within the ecosystem, and someone brought up my name. They recommended me to speak to him, and I said, sure, let's go ahead. I didn't look into who Fred was. I did not study. I didn't really know much about him at all. So I actually was expecting to speak to Georgina, the assistant, and I hopped on the call, and then Fred was there.
Man, that's so fun.
I found myself into this call with Fred Destin, a symbolic investor in Europe, and I really didn't know who he was. And that ended up actually being my competitive advantage, I think, and I'll explain why in a second. But we had this 30-minute chat, and he told me, hey, do you want to run this research project about student entrepreneurship for me? You're super plugged into the ecosystem. You run a lot of events. Do you want to do this for me? I'm like, no way. It bores the hell out of me. Hate it. Don't want to do research for you. But I can get you someone who can. So I can build a team for you and I can lead that. But I'm definitely not going to be hands-on. And I think, and we had a conversation about startups in general. We kept the conversation going. And because I was so frank, and because I was so almost arrogant, I would say, because I didn't know who he was, I think that there was something about that honesty of being at 20, I was 21 at the time, ending up on a call. I think any other 21 years old, obviously with any context on who he was, would have been placed a bit differently. So because I didn't know who he was, I was just super honest, frank, immediate, and I think it turned out to actually appreciate that. And so actually that brings me to my tip for anybody. That led me to then interview him on the podcast, etc. But that leads me to the tip for anybody wanting to break into the VC. So there are two elements to it. First, understand why you want, but I'm not going to speak about that because that's about internal motivators. And second, it's about true honesty and ability to argument and bring your objections and arguments to a conversation so that you enrich a conversation. So your ability to be able to be honest and say it how it is and collectively work to reach the truth together with the other person. So we get into a discussion and I share my honest truth of how I see this. This is why I think it's interesting. This is why I don't think it's interesting. And being frank and honest about that and try to discover together. So that ability to get in the room and discuss in an honest manner without being scared of the other person, without being intimidated, because there is a power asymmetry, of course, is actually key in my opinion. And people wanting to break into VC often fall victims of agreeing with the partner that they're interviewing with. And so the partner tells you, I actually don't think that's gonna work. And then you're like, maybe you're right. I actually don't think it's gonna work. Why do you say that? Let's try to understand. Let's dissect that. Let's work together. And that ping pong, that that interaction is so much more valuable, because again, it's about collectively getting closer to the truth. It's not about whose opinion wins. And so are you adding to the discussion or not?
Got it. Amazing, man. I love your point of view. We all know that you're also a host of the podcast Chaotica.
We all know, not everybody.
We all know.
We're working on it.
We will. So this is a place where technology and philosophy collide. So, it must lead to some mind-boggling conversations.
It does.
I assume.
It does. It really does, yeah.
How has the podcast experience influenced your perspective on, the potential impact of technologies like crypto, VR, or AI?
Yeah, it's interesting. So the thesis for why the podcast matters, and I know I'm not the first one to come up with the idea of a podcast. However, I think I've put a lot of thought into why it matters and why it's interesting, because it's not just a podcast. We film everything. Everything is extremely high quality and thought through, and we really thought about the distribution strategy, etc. We may not be super successful at it yet. We're working on it, but there is a lot of thought behind it. And the reason why I'm putting so much effort into it is because from the outside, I see venture capital in kind of facing a two-way street. On one side, you either find the deals. On the other side, the deals come to you. If you find the deals, we're about to have a lot of really good AI and system to scrape effectively the internet, scrape effectively which companies are out there, relatively fast screening of them. And then if you can hire a bunch of analysts and interns for you, capture, and there is a lot of firms that are already doing that, to capture all of that, you can really effectively, systematically capture the entire market and keep a good pulse on it. I don't want to play the game. I don't think I can win there because I don't have neither. It's not what we do. On the other side, you get the deals to come to you, and to do that, I think you need deep trust. There is a few ways to build deep trust with people so that they can send you the deals that are most adequate to you and then want to work with you. You either have 25 years in the industry, so you've built 25 years of connection with someone because you've worked together, you've relied upon each other, and you've trusted each other, which means that they will trust you with the next thing they do. I don't have 25 years. So how do I engineer trust at scale quickly? I need to put myself out there, show my reasoning, show how I think, with my problems and is thinking in public, so that people can learn to trust me very quickly, and the people that appreciate the things that I talk about. And so that's why I'm putting so much effort into it. And my thesis is that the people that I want to back tend to entertain themselves in discussion around technology and philosophy. They like to discuss about dystopian futures, utopian futures that, very sci-fi centric. They like to entertain those discussions about, neural interfaces and how we interact with the internet in innovative, sophisticated manners. And so that's why I've decided to focus on those topics. And it does lead to really mind-boggling conversations, because we tend to really go broad and explore the future of human experience. And that's the core of it. So it's about divergence of thought, not about convergence of thought, which is a critique, and fair critique many people bring to the podcast, is about try to converge on some topics. But I think there should be a safe space for divergence, and I think I want to provide that.
Oh man, that sounds amazing. Guys, if you haven't watched it yet, Chaotica, Michelangelo, please go and check it out.
I appreciate it.
I've been enjoying the interview so far. I think we're gonna take a break now and move to the next location, which is one of the favorite places of yours.
It's cool. I think it's a cool place. It's not one of my favorite, but it's a really, I hope it embodies a bit my brand.
Okay.
If there is such thing as my brand, but yeah.
Okay, let's go there and continue the interview right there.
We're Alternate. It's it's a neighborhood here in London, and it's all about immersive experiences. It's a cool team behind it, and they designed this immersive, almost it's like I don't know. It's an interesting design. I always find it a cool place to go through.
So we all know that the VC game is quite fierce competition. How does TurnedVC stands out, and how do you stand out as an investor? So do you leverage your passion for acting to create meaningful relationships with people and with founders and make sustainable and successful investment decisions?
Yeah, I try my best to stand out. It's really hard in this business to actually stand out. The whole reason why I joined Stride is because there is one underlying thing, and that is the relationship with trust that we build with founders. And that is the reason why Fred started the fund in the first place, because it's really rare to actually create relationships of trust between the founder and the investors, because there is an asymmetry. Hopefully there is symmetry in goals and objectives, but there's often an asymmetry in power dynamics, and it's really hard to be super aligned, and we really want to focus on that piece so the founders feel super comfortable with us and we can just play together to win. So a lot of our investment process actually focus on the person that we're backing, and so we love to spend time in person, working with them, thinking with them at the whiteboard. On our website, we say every board meeting is a whiteboard meeting. Like, fuck board meetings. Let's just go to the whiteboard and think together and think about the strategy. So that's what a lot of us is about. I definitely tried to tap into my acting experience just to relate to someone and understand where they're coming from. And that's important to me.
Got it, man. That sounds amazing. Going through hundreds of pitch decks and meeting hundreds of founders, probably sometimes you find yourself asking, like in the kind of a Shakespearean monologue, asking yourself, invest or not to invest? That is the question. So what do you look for in founders, and do you have any specific industries or technologies that you're excited about? Or you're just open to explore different opportunities as a startup channel comes?
So I think we're generalist by design, sector agnostic by design, because we think that it's the founders that come up with the visions of the future and understand where the opportunities lie. And so our job is not to predict the future. Our job is very much to be reactive and sensitive to when the right founders comes and sells the right vision of the future. So by design, we choose not to be sector specific. I like to spend my time on what you would call the sophisticating of the internet experience, or you can also call it a bit more sci-fi tech. I don't do anything boring. I have the benefit of being able to focus on the things that I truly find interesting. So I have the benefit at Stride of being able to focus on the things that I really love and enjoy.
Right.
So I don't need to spend any time on the boring details and specifics of an industry that's already understood. For instance, a lot of fintech is already understood. It's now about refining and ironing out the details. That's not for me, because there's someone that has 20 years of experience and understanding precisely where the innovation happens. For me, the interesting things are swing of the bats, completely new narratives, new phenomena that I have an advantage in understanding because I'm quite of a blank slate. I've only been in VC for the past 2 years, so I think I'm more positioned for that. So trying to see really how the internet evolves as compared to, and the internet experience evolves as compared to slight improvements of mechanics/execution. So I really only spend times on the really big, exciting stuff that I talk about on my podcast, from VR, AR, blockchain, AI, a lot of the buzzwords.
Yeah, true. Man, that sounds amazing. And this is an amazing place to actually
It's cool, right?
answer this question. No?
It's about immersiveness. It's
Yeah.
about creating a more sophisticated internet experience. And a lot of my time is spent in understanding how do we achieve that. And so I think this was good for capturing the vibe. Thank you, Outernet.
Thank you, Outernet. Let's move to the next one. Take a deep breath, guys, and we're gonna just jump right to the next question. So, when being on Zen's podcast, you mentioned that that's so awesome. You mentioned that you like young founders because They think big, they are unfiltered, and they are unbuttered. Can you share? And I love it actually, by the way, man. And I actually love young founders as well, and I think the same. I totally agree. And so, could you share experience that you've had working with a young founder or founders that actually made that impression on you, and like how did they stand up? What impressed you the most in terms of their mindset and vision?
Totally. I love young founders because, as you said, they are raw, unfiltered, and unbothered. And oftentimes they're young, so they're blank slates. They come to market with a vision and they haven't been shaped one way or another. So they don't have the experience to be able to recognize whether something may be a bit delusional. And I think when you really need to disrupt an industry or come up with an entire new industry, you do need to have that delusion in you, or to some extent that naivety of not recognizing all the problems that could arise. And I think only through being young, whether mentally or biologically, you achieve that. And so that's why I'm so I really like to take bets on young founders, because I'm really comfortable with the risks that come with it. And I'm really excited about the opportunity that come with it.
So circling back to your love for acting, have you ever found yourself, using acting techniques during the investment pitch meeting or while coaching founders? And man, so if you were to give one piece of advice for founders, to willing to score investment from Stride, what would it be?
Have I found myself using acting techniques during pitches? I hope not too much, but look, I do want to be able to convey why we are different, and I do really care about that. So I want to make sure that there is a narrative behind it, and I want to convey that. So I want to explain to founders that for us, what matters is trust and building those trusted relationships. And so, call it acting or not, I deeply care about conveying that, and it means that I will use any means necessary to do so. And so, I will put myself in game, and that's not acting, it's just portraying what I deeply believe in and I want to convey. So yeah, for sure. And when it comes to tips to founder pitching to us, I can speak for what works with me, and what I really appreciate is intellectual honesty. I like a founder that comes to me and is willing to have a conversation that goes two ways, no matter how more advanced you are in a specific industry, because you will be more advanced than me, because I'm still catching up. As a generalist, I'm looking at 10,000 different things, and my job is to really get relatively good at every one of them, but then quickly get up to speed. So you obviously, as a founder, be way ahead of me, but we still need to have that intellectual honesty and conversation to be a ground zero, leave everything behind, and work with me to get closer to the truth together with the founder as well. It's an iterative process. So I really love when a founder shares their vision honestly, shares their mission honestly, their incentives honestly, and we align and we find when it works, when it's a match. So instead of acting, actually, that's probably reducing the levels of layers. So getting more in touch, reaching that frequency that I was referring to earlier in the episode.
Amazing, man. Thanks for answering that. And this was actually the last question. So to finish it off, let us know what you got going on in your life. Any amazing projects lined up? Either within Stride or Chaotica or outside of it.
So what do I have going on? That's a beautiful shot over there as well. What do I got going on? We can shift the camera angle so as I explain. I think the most important thing that I want to convey about what I do right now is definitely Chaotica. Chaotica is the project that I've been working on for so long and pouring so much of my energy. I really think that capital itself is becoming less and less a differentiator. You need to stand out in other ways. And so I really care about making sure that venture capital is the monetization strategy of something bigger. To me, I want to create an intelligence challenge point, a convergence point for people in London to reason, think together, debate, have a think tank. So on a weekly basis, I invite founders, 5 or 6 founders, to have deep dives on specific topics. And they love it because they don't get the opportunity to do that usually with other peers. I want to create a center for visionaries and people that love to entertain themselves with these visions. And venture capital is just an adjacent product. And so Chaotica is that vision of creating a convergence point for futurist in London. It's a bit of a glorified way of saying, I just really want to work with smart and visionary people.
Awesome, man. That sounds amazing. Everyone, clap for Michelangelo. It's a wrap.
Clap to you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.